In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation. In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving.
Technical difficulties there for a moment. How's everyone tonight? I am Kim Page. Is Turn the Page. Tonight I have Miss Mac. I think we decided that Tuesday we didn't have enough time to be able to get all of our information out, so we decided to bring her back, and we're gonna pick up where we left off. But before we start with that, Amy and I have been talking about a parent that I have been assisting for about a month now. CPS has been quite literally. Hi, Tammy. So this parent actually sent me her ring video of CPS and how they were beating at her door. Now, CPS has already she's ignored them. She has refused to cooperate, and she's done everything right. She is actually sending out a cease and desist. Sent out cease and desist this afternoon, so they should receive it within the next day or two. But I thought it would be a pretty interesting thing. You know, those of you who have been victimized by CPS already would be familiar with some of the things that you're about to see. But I think that for those of you that are not familiar with how CPS works, the hypocrisy of the caseworkers, I think this video would be pretty interesting to you. In this video, caseworkers are speaking about how their own children are problematic, yet they're beating on this young mother's door to try to tell her how to be a mother. So I'm going to get Vinny to put this video up real quick, and let's take a look at how CPS has handled this situation. Vinny, whenever you're ready.
Is he trying to get him? Well, I'm out there barely breathing. I need to get some more things like that so I have my front porch. I know, I got the same thing. I'm scared my kids will tear it up though. What would they be tearing up? Because they just destructive. Cameras are destructive. That's fair enough. We bought them a basketball goal. They tore it up the same week. No. Gosh. That's like Alicia said that her kids just got like a Ranger or a 4-wheeler or something like that for Christmas, and she said they'd already ordered stuff. That's how it is. Yeah. Okay, one more freaking mattress. You don't want to be there. I'm not gonna be able to. You wanna show me? I know you didn't. I ain't gonna do it. They probably watching it. They might still be asleep. I wouldn't be waking up. Not 40 minutes. All right, well, okay, go as it is. Go as it is. I hope that stays there. It should. Should be big enough. Yeah, there we go.
Now, as y'all heard, these women are talking about how their kids are already tearing things up that they just got for Christmas. We're talking, what, 4 weeks ago? Not even 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that they got expensive things for Christmas. And, their kids are tearing things up. That's how kids be. But wait a minute. They're coming in there and knocking on this parent's door, trying to tell this parent how to be a parent. And their kids are hellions. So, I'm kind of confused exactly as to why CPS thinks that they have the right to be able to tell another person how to raise their kids when their own kids are little shitheads. Interesting that they think they can do that. But if you'll notice there at the end, the black lady's talking about, I'd have been beaten on the door. And then she's talking about how it's 10 o'clock in the morning. This woman should be up by now. Parents, you need to do exactly as this mother did. This mother contacted me as these women were standing on the other side of her door. And she did not answer it. She took her children to the back of her home away from the front door so that the CPS workers could not hear that anyone was there. And she ignored them. She was terrified the entire time, shaking. Her anxiety was through the roof. But she did exactly what each and every one of you should do if CPS knocks at your door, and that is ignore them. Ignore them. Now, this mother, she actually told me she went to leave, and these workers 30 minutes later were sitting in their car waiting for her to come out of the door. They fortunately did not see her, and she was able to get back inside and wait for another hour or so before she left home. Her children are safe. They are not in the custody of these child traffickers. But this woman has been dealing with this for a little over a month now, December 13th. And the reason that she allegedly had a visit from CPS is because, according to the CPS worker, the pediatrician called CPS because her children were dirty. She sent me a photograph of the children while they were at the doctor's office. None of these kids look dirty. One of them looked like they might need a little bit of their face wipe, just a touch, but they're all about 2.5 years old, 3 years old. The one whose face looked like it needed to be wiped is autistic. And if you know anything about an autistic child, most of the time they do not like to be touched. The only other issue is her little girl's hair was a mess. And if any of you have daughters, you know they do not want you touching their hair. They hate it. That was it. Everything else about these children looked absolutely perfect. So the only thing that it says to me is that this doctor is connected
Can I add something?
to. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Go ahead,
Firstly,
Amy.
was this in Alabama? I'm assuming it was.
Uh, well, because the case is because the parent is still dealing with this, I'm not going to reveal where she's
Okay,
at.
that's fine.
But for argument's sake, let's say that it is, so that we can have that discussion since you and I are more familiar with Alabama
Right.
laws. For argument's sake, let's say that she is in Alabama. Let's say she's in Jefferson County, Alabama.
It that was irrelevant, except I was going to add, there was a mom in a Birmingham mom group yesterday, day before. I don't know. I saw it yesterday. She posted anonymously. First of all, it doesn't matter what anyone's beliefs are about vaccines before we get any further into this. She'd mentioned to her doctor that she was researching things. And firstly, the doctor said, "Oh, just do what we say." She said that felt strange to her, but she continued to go to that doctor because that was their provider. And the provider added to her the last time they were there, which I guess was this week or something, that if she decided to delay any vaccines or to stop getting them, not only were they going to dismiss her as a patient, which they can do as long as they take care of her children until she finds another provider, but the doctor also stated that she would report the mother and the children to DHR for medical neglect. There's Alabama law stating that they can't do that. So that's one, if not two. I'm assuming it's a different doctor than the one in the story you just told. There are at least two doctors in Alabama making false DHR reports or threatening to make false DHR reports.
Right. Yep. And this is something that happens every single day. You have a right to vaccinate or not vaccinate your children. And let me actually say one thing. I'm not sure if this is the way it works in every other state, but this is the way it works in Alabama. When you have Medicaid, Medicaid assigns you to a doctor. You don't get to choose your own doctor. So Medicaid allows CPS to commit Medicaid fraud by billing Medicaid for services that CPS provides, such as home visits or going to court, things like that. And then Medicaid also assigns you to a doctor for your children. Kind of a little bit wonky there. So, Amy, you and I were talking earlier. There's actually and actually, I might need to log into this right now. There is actually a meeting going on right now.
A virtual foster parent interest meeting.
Yep, that is actually what's going on right now. Let me see if I can locate this because I was going to sign on to it.
It is being hosted by Alabama Baptist Children's Home and Family Ministries.
Yep. So, y'all, the mother that I've been helping, she actually just messaged me. She took her children to a family member's home, and she's going to have that family member keep the children during the week while she packs up because they're actually moving. So her children are safe.
Good.
So she said it feels really lonely and sad that her kids aren't there right now. These are beautiful little kids. I've seen the children. I've seen pictures of the kids. These are beautiful little kids. And there's nothing at all that I've seen about these kids that at all would warrant a call to CPS.
Well,
Except
Kim, are they blonde haired and blue eyed? Because 67%
there we
of
go.
the people, of the children I know of that are in foster care in Alabama, are blonde haired and blue eyed.
75%, I think, was the
67.
no,
Oh,
no. I was talking about the when we did the poll in the Alabama Parents Helping
it wasn't
Children
75,
page.
it was 67.
Okay, 67. Okay, all right. Well, 67% are blonde hair, blue eyed children, and yes, her children are blonde hair, blue eyed.
That's all it is.
And the other side and say, we got to think about this for a little bit.
So we are on.
That's okay too. You've got your tip certificate. You can take a few weeks or a month to think about it. If you decide you want to go forward, you can call us back and we can pick up the process. And then we always have some families who go through it and go.
So we're gonna have this on in the background while Amy are talking. So Amy, you were speaking about something earlier about some of the other classes that this Alabama Baptist.
Hey, Kim, I have to cut that off.
Tell me.
I can't in the background.
Okay.
All
right. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it on my headphones so I can hear you and it.
Okay, good, because the feedback was awful. Alabama.
No problem.
Alabama Baptist Children's Home and Family Ministries, which is who's doing that online virtual foster parent interest meeting, also made a post today. We have about 6,000 kids in foster care in Alabama every year. Why would we have roughly the same number every year, first of all? Because aren't children being adopted out? Aren't children going home? Aren't children... Some of these children are passing away. So why do we have roughly the same number of foster care every year? Is that their goal number? That's my first question.
Well, they have to. They use the money that is generated, the profit that's generated from taking children, to be able to balance the budget.
Right.
So at the very least, that is likely their goal.
Right. We have about 6,000 kids in foster care in Alabama every year, and we need more foster parents to care for these children. This spring, we are offering our 10-week foster parent training tips course at 8 different churches across Alabama. Swipe to find out the training nearest you. And these are the churches: Greater Peace Baptist Church in Auburn, Alabama; Shades Mountain Community Church in Birmingham, Alabama. This one is also providing dinner and childcare during the classes. Lindsay Lane Baptist Church main campus in Decatur, Alabama. Calvary Baptist Church in Dothan, Alabama. West Mobile Baptist Church in Mobile, Alabama. First Baptist Church Prattville in the Montgomery area. Iron City Baptist Church in Anniston/Oxford, Alabama, and Calvary Baptist Church in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That one is also providing dinner and childcare, and it has the same name as the church in Dothan, but I'm not sure if they are actually attached or not. And all of these classes start between January and March, and they all end about a week before school gets out in the summer. So they'll have all these newly trained foster parents just in time for the summer to snatch their children.
So we were talking the other day. You were given some numbers. Do you recall what those numbers were, Amy?
I'm pulling them up now. Give me just a minute to get down there to it.
Okay.
Oh,
all right. I'm trying to put a couple. Go ahead.
This is another post that Alabama Baptist Children's Home and Family Ministries posted about a week ago. Big news. In 2024, we served 460 foster children. Okay, firstly, for those that don't know, Alabama Baptist Children's Home has children's homes throughout the state that they house foster children at. Often these homes are girl only or boy only or little bitty kid only or whatever their specialty is. They have these group homes on top of having foster parents that are licensed through Alabama Baptist Children's Home. Yet they're claiming they only helped 460 children. Just right around Thanksgiving, they were raising over $50,000 to continue their operations and this and that, on top of everything else they get and their monthly donations and this and that. You've got all of this money, you've got all these group homes, you've got all these foster parents, but you only helped 460 children with this abundant amount of money. I know property costs money and paying folks cost money and things of that nature if you want to look at it from a business side. But all of this money, and you didn't even help 500 children, which would be, hold on. They didn't even help a 12th of the children in Alabama. But they're the biggest one screaming, help the foster children, help the foster children. They didn't even provide services to a 12th of the children in care.
And the reason they don't provide those services is because it cuts into their profit.
Mm-hmm. And when I was in one of the group home locations is in Mobile, Alabama. That particular location is a girls only home. And I went to middle school with several girls from this group. They needed severe therapy from being in the group home and from family situations. Some of them did not come from good places. They were often dirty, unkept, hungry. You know, the things people get their children taken away for. There was even one little girl, I'm not sure how she come into care or whatever you want to call it, that was extremely unkept, dirty, matted hair, smelled like pee. And this was a child in their care. I know she may have had some sensory needs or some other developmental things that may have been going on, but we were in middle school, not in kindergarten, and they allowed this little girl to come to school dirty, matted hair, and smelling like piss, instead of trying to get to the root cause of what was going on with her and giving her some schooling on the center while they handled her issues so she wouldn't get picked on and bullied at school. They go on in this post to say each child could experience hope and healing through God's unchanging love. Your prayers and support made this possible. Thank you for partnering with us in this life-changing work.
It's very sick that these children are being used in the way that they're being used. You know,
one of the other graphics for tonight's virtual interest call is a picture of a little black boy being hugged by a white woman, and the title is "Kids Without a Home Need Yours," alluding that these children are feral cats out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I don't think this little boy is a feral cat in the parking lot.
And you know, that right there, that picture itself.
He has a home.
Well, that picture. Oh, guess what, guys? I got kicked out of the chat. I got kicked out. They didn't like hearing the truth.
Did you say something?
They didn't like hearing the truth.
Wait, did you type something or
in the group? Yes, I posted in the chat. I posted supplier of children to sex trafficking according to the Department of Justice. I put in there, if you're planning on being able to do any of this, you need to make sure that you ask to see the court records, because CPS will lie to you. They will lie to the judge. 87% of children are being removed for reasons other than abuse or neglect. They kicked me out of this foster care thing because they don't want foster parents to know the truth.
Mm-hmm. They posted this one. Sometimes they don't do it every Friday, but frequently on Friday, they post a foster care Friday fact. This one is from 2 days after Christmas. It is titled, it says, did you know that there are 3,164 SBC churches in the state of Alabama? I'm assuming that means Southern Baptist churches. If I'm incorrect, okay, it does say that. I see it further down. They're stating that there are 3,164 Southern Baptist churches in the state of Alabama. They go on to say if every Southern Baptist church fostered 2 children, which would split up some sibling groups and whatnot, Southern Baptists could care for every foster child in the state. So y'all are claiming that y'all should, that the churches should take care of that the Southern Baptist churches should take care of every foster child in the state, while also simultaneously putting up numbers that you didn't even help 1/12 of the children in the state.
So I know that in Alabama, and I wanted to say something about that picture that you showed. That was a little African American boy
Yes.
and a Caucasian adult woman that I'm assuming is supposed to be his caregiver in this particular situation.
Right.
So I know that in Alabama, the law states that if a child is removed from his or her biological parents, they are supposed to be placed in a home that is most like their biological family. For example, if they are African American, they need to be placed with an African American family. If their parents are heterosexual, man and woman, they need to be placed with a heterosexual couple. If they are children who are, whatever if they're children who are Christian, they are not supposed to be placed in an Islamic home. It is supposed to be a home that is most like the home that they were removed from.
Right.
Amy, what is your knowledge of how often that actually happens?
I do a lot of work in the St. Clair, Shelby, Chilton, Tuscaloosa, Jefferson County area. And oftentimes, if I do run into an African American foster child, they are with white caregivers.
I believe that your situation, your children are placed with people who have completely different beliefs than you do. Is that correct?
Correct. Let me read this this pity story that they posted a week before Christmas. They supposedly changed these children's names when they use their story on a post, but I don't know if they do or don't. They changed this child's name.
Hold on.
They changed this child's name to
He's,
do what?
they're getting into the question and answer. I want to see if they kick me out again. I've gotten back into it under another name. Let's see if he gets back, if he says anything, addresses anything that I have to say.
Your generosity gave Emery more than just a safe home. This Christmas, she has learned about Jesus for the first time and gave her heart to him. Your kindness is in transforming lives one child at a time. To make a difference through giving this Christmas, give to this organization. Thank you. And this is the story they tell about Emery. Emery is 9, by the way. They're claiming that she didn't know anything about Jesus, which tells me that Emery his family is probably not Christian. They might be Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or anything of that nature. When Emery entered foster care at 9 years old, she didn't know the story of Christmas beyond Santa and Frosty. While in care, her foster parents shared the true meaning of Christmas while setting up the nativity. This connection to baby Jesus, who had no room in the inn, deeply resonated with Emery. She lived most of her life feeling unwanted. So we don't know who Emery is or anything about her backstory, but they're alluding that Emery did not know anything about Jesus or Christianity and that she felt unwanted most of her life. I mean, this could be true. We're not sure where Emery came from, but just to assume this is kind of ooky. Shortly before Christmas, she asked Jesus into her heart. This Christmas season, we want to celebrate the life-changing impact of your generosity. Emery found more than just a loving home. She found salvation and hope in Christ. Your gifts provide more than shelter and meals. They create moments where children like Emery experience the love of God. And okay, if that's what Emery believes when she's a grown adult, that's fine, that's dandy. She's a 9-year-old child who knew nothing about any of this, which tells me that this is not the religion she's being taught or was growing up in her home. And now they're claiming that she was unwanted, finally found a home, and invited Christ into her heart. So I'm assuming that they didn't mention it, but I'm going to assume that they allowed this child to be baptized without her parent and family's approval, knowledge, or anything of that sort. And this could go for any religion. You can't pick up foster children and then try to shove a religion down their throat, which may be different than their actual family.
So, in my case, I am heterosexual. I have never had, I got kicked out again, guys. I have never been in a relationship with another woman, a romantic relationship with another woman. I am Christian, Southern Baptist. My children were placed with lesbians. I'm also very much Republican. My children were placed with lesbians who do not believe in God and who are Democrats. Absolutely the complete total opposite of me.
Okay, Paul.
So
I was sorry, Kim, for cutting you off, but before I forget to say this, I'm gonna repeal my number of 50,000 that they were trying to raise. I think that was their goal, but here's a post from December 4th. So right after Thanksgiving, there's Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Giving Tuesday and all of those things around Thanksgiving. Their post from December 4th says, "You really showed up this Giving Tuesday. Because of your kindness and generosity, we have raised over $630,000. The weekend after Thanksgiving, they raised over $600,000. Not counting, monthly donations or collection plates that different churches might have or anything of that sort that go towards them. They got over $500,000. Oh, that also doesn't count whatever DHR pays them to hold these children."
he's kicking me out again, y'all. He doesn't like this.
What are you saying?
I'm telling them to do some research. Don't trust a stranger. Ask for the court records before you take a child, because CPS lies to the fosters about what happened to the kids. They lie to the judge about the stuff that the parents do. This man doesn't like this. He doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to educate people. Yep, kicked out again. They don't like it. It's quite funny. He's getting really frustrated. I keep coming back in repeatedly.
Hold on. Here's another post they made in November. Foster care frauding. Alabama Baptist Children's Home has been caring for kids in care since 1891. With your support, we can reach our goal of caring for 1,000 kids a year by 2031. And that's what it says above. And in the photo where they put other words, it says, "Did you know we've cared for Alabama's kids since 1891? Our goal is to care for 1,000 foster kids by our 140th year in 2023. Above it says 1,000 foster kids a year is the goal. This says that their goal is to get to 1,000 kids. So it's taking you 140 years to help 1,000 children?
Apparently. Well, Lady P, you missed this because you weren't in with us earlier. The Alabama Baptist Children's Home is doing currently a foster care training online to kind of to get people to try to be foster parents. And I've gone in several times, and I'm putting stuff in the chat, letting them know that Child Protective Services is a child trafficking business, and that if these people want to be foster parents, they need to get the court records so that they can know the truth about what's going on. And they keep kicking me out. The person who is running the group, doing this training or this sales pitch, he keeps kicking me out because I'm putting all this stuff on here. They don't want foster parents to know the truth. They don't want foster parents to have anything to do with it. So they're getting quite pissed off at me because I'm going in and telling all this stuff. I've gone in under several names. The last one I actually went under Nancy Schaefer was murdered exposing CPS. So hopefully that will get some of these potential foster parents to do a little bit of research. It is absolutely necessary that we have some fosters, because there are situations where parents can't take care of their kids. Maybe if a parent has been in a car accident and they're sitting in the hospital for 6-8 months with a broken back and they have no family, then yes, there needs to be somebody that can take care of that child. Or if there's a mother that's been murdered and the children's father goes to prison for the one doing it, somebody needs to take care of those children. So we do need to have foster parents, but the foster parents deserve to be educated. So many of the foster parents that are involved in this situation are not involved because they want to traffic children. They are in, they're wanting to be part of this because they think they're helping children. And a lot of these fosters are victimized just as much as we are, and just as much as these children are. And they're victimized because the same thing that CPS does to us, they do to them, which is lie. They lie and abuse. They abuse the fosters so that they can have somewhere to shove the kids until they find somebody that'll pay top dollar for the children. And then they lie to the parents. They lie to the judge. That's all they know how to do. So, we get so pissed off at these foster parents, but we have to understand that they are only doing what they're doing because they've been lied to. So the foster parents.
I'm gonna cut you off for just a minute, Kim. I will say you are correct. However, there are some, like say in my case, where they have been shown the truth. They have been shown the proof. They have been shown all of that. And instead of continuing to be good, helpful people, they flip the script on you. They allow people to lie to you, even though you've shown them the proof. And then they attack you and further hold your children from you and things of that nature. And if you know, if you don't know the truth, you are a victim. If you know the truth and you're still compliant and complicit, then you are guilty.
Right. Yep. But many of these foster parents, they're going into it with no idea what's actually going on, or these potential foster parents.
Right.
So, we need to not just look at trying to topple the foster care system, but we need to also start trying to educate potential foster parents as to what kind of business that they're about to associate with. And yes, there are many foster parents out there that simply do it either to get a paycheck or so they can have access to kids so they can P. Diddy them. There are those kind of things, but there are also parents that P. Diddy their children.
Right.
There are also parents that pop out baby after baby after baby so they can get more welfare checks. So it's the same situation, but we've got to look at it from both sides. We
Right.
can't just look at this situation as fosters are evil people just because they tried to foster. I wanted to be a foster parent years ago before I became involved with CPS. I wanted to do this because I was under the impression that these children were all abused and they needed somebody to love them. Now, I would absolutely love to foster, because at this particular point, it wouldn't be so that I could, because these kids are abused. I would foster so that I could make sure that the parents and their children continue to be able to have that relationship.
Did you?
And I think that every one of us, if we have the ability to do it, you should.
Did you see what Lady P said to ask them?
I can't get back in, Lady P. I definitely would get back in if I could, but I can't get back in. But I believe they have these all the time, and I know they have them in your state. So see what you can do about finding them, and see if you can ask them. I can tell you that in Alabama, oh Lord, I think it was 2.5 years ago. You remember the Sturgis case? It was Spurgeon or Sturgeon. Tommy James actually took on the case. It was there were a set of foster parents that were in Florida, and they had been removed from being foster parents because the children in their care were being physically and sexually abused by them. They ended up losing their foster care license excuse me, guys, hold on one second. I just heard a beat going on. Okay, sorry. So they lost their foster care license in Florida because of the abuse that was happening to the children in their care. They went straight to Alabama and immediately were given 6 kids. Those kids were also abused in their care. Alabama did no background checks on them at all. They just gave them all these children. And I believe, if I remember the case correctly, actually one of the children, I believe, was killed in their care. And they allowed these children.
I haven't even heard this.
They allowed these people. Oh yeah, this was look up Tommy James Law. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is a couple of years ago.
I have a question though. If they're allowing waivers for, people who lost their foster license in another state, or sex offenders, or in my case, the foster dad is a former addict, and that's been a thing for many other people as well. If all of these people are allowed to have foster children waived into their care, Kim, does that mean that I can adopt your children and you can adopt mine?
I mean, you know what? Let's file for adoption. Let's see what we can do. Let's find out.
Because if all of these people with actual criminal records and drug records and
because I don't have a criminal record.
Do what?
I mean, the extent of my criminal, I don't have a criminal record. The extent of my criminal history is traffic violations. So that should make it to where I could adopt your kids. But wait a minute, maybe I need a criminal record to be.
That's what I was about to say. Or do we need a criminal record? Because
maybe I should go knock over a CPS office. Maybe I can get some kids after doing that. I just joke facetiously.
Lady P, what state are you in that commissioner waived like 160 waivers?
Amy, the thing is with the that case that I was just talking about, I don't think they ever told Alabama. From what I understand, it's been a little while since I've read the case. I don't think they ever told Alabama that they lost their license in Florida. I think they just told them they wanted to come. They moved and they wanted to continue being a foster parents that they used to foster in Florida.
Well, the issue,
and
they would have had criminal charges, so Alabama should have pulled that on a criminal background check.
Florida never charged them.
And that's like I mentioned in a live I did on TikTok the other night that, I mean, I know this crosses into some, what's it called? Confidentiality type things, but if you choose to be in certain positions, you get no confidentiality. I think there needs to be a federal registry for CPS workers and foster parents. That way, if they go state hopping from one state to the other and they've done something, it flags them and things of that nature. And this list needs to be public so people can look at it. Because if things aren't public, there's no checks and balances. There's no someone being like, hey, this doesn't line up with that. And if there was a registry of people who were fosters, Alabama would have seen that they had fostered in Florida.
Yep.
And that they were removed.
Yeah, but they're more interested in making a gun registry than they are a foster parent registry to, an abusive foster parent registry. Yep, but Vinny, can you post my email address if you don't mind, please? I send it to you in the chat. Yep, fingerprint and DNA should be done. You're right. I mean, Dominique, I actually, in 2016, my ex-husband assaulted my daughter, and she was 14 at the time. She was on crutches, and I jumped on him to get him off my daughter. He ended up beating the crap out of me with her crutch. I defended myself, and in defending myself, I cracked open his head to his skull, and I was criminally charged. I was charged with felony domestic violence, and so was he. I ended up taking my case to the grand jury. He pled, but I took my case to the grand jury, and I ended up getting off on these charges. But when I was sitting in the jail, just on a charge, not a conviction, on a charge, they made me give a DNA sample. And they actually told me that if I did not submit DNA, the judge would actually order me to do so. And if I still didn't do it, I would have additional charges against me. So why is it that my DNA is sitting in the Alabama criminal database for a charge that my case went to the grand jury? It was no billed. That means the grand jury did not indict me. Okay. The grand jury did not indict me. Everything was dropped 100%. Yet my DNA is sitting there in the criminal database. But these foster parents who beat and molest and murder our children, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. It's freaking ridiculous. So, guys, I want to talk about, we've got a few minutes left before the show's over. So before we close out, Amy, I want to talk about the things that we do to be able to keep our sanity without our children being here. We spoke about the mother earlier, and she's been messaging me while we've been doing the show today. She took her children to a family member, and she told me, she said, it feels really lonely and sad that my kids are not here right now. She said, I've never been away from my kids a single day since they've been born. It feels so unreal, and I've been crying nonstop since I brought my kids to the family member. So, as Amy knows, and some of you are watching know, my best friend killed himself October of 23 because CPS took his kids from him. His wife had killed herself 3 years prior, 6 weeks after she gave birth to their fifth daughter. And CPS came in that night and tried to take his kids from him, telling him that, you can't be the father of 5 little girls. A man can't raise 5 little girls as a single father. We were able to get his kids back the first time, but CPS would not stop coming after him. The local sheriff's department, one sheriff's deputy specifically, Al Crow of the Talladega County Sheriff's Department, kept coming after Christopher Buchanan to the point that Christopher took his life because the Talladega, Alabama CPS and the Talladega, Alabama Sheriff's Department, specifically Al Crow, would not stop harassing this man. Even though there was buku-doodles of evidence, Al Crow kept going around the county telling everybody that Chris murdered his wife. There was video evidence that she killed herself. And this son of a bitch went around the county telling 3 or 4 different stories of how Chris killed his wife. Chris is now dead. And we have 5 beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girls that no longer have either of their parents here because Chris couldn't deal with this. Chris could not deal with the psychological ramifications of the bullshit that CPS was putting him through. So, Amy, what kind of tips do you have for parents who are in this same situation and the psychological strain of not having their kids gets to be too much? What do you do to help yourself not want to take your life?
Talk to other people like you that have the same issues, or help people like us when you can. Or if you just want to ignore people, go to the animal shelter, go to a rescue. We have had 3 different foster cats since the beginning of the year, and we've gotten all 3 of them adopted, and I have to go pick up more cats Monday. Also, I have an update. I have an update on a mom that went to court today.
Oh, okay.
She said, well, as always, we were not brought into the courtroom this morning. We were left out in the hall, and then our attorney came out and told us what was said. They have some Native American heritage, so there's the Indian tribal law.
So they're trying to get ICWA. Yep.
Right.
ICPC with it and do ICWA.
Right. They're trying to do ICWA. They said that the genealogist reports were not enough proof and that we needed tribe membership information that we belong to a tribe. Well, ... That's not what they said in June or in September. They also don't even know what to do with any of it. Our attorney and so-and-so's attorney said they didn't know how to handle this and that they were going to have to do some research. So they reset court for the middle of March. And I asked, what do you mean that y'all have not been allowed in the courtroom? And she said, we have not been in the courtroom the last 4 times. We are told to stay in the hallway.
Now, my case, for anybody that knows my case started out in Shelby County, Alabama. It was bounced around Shelby County, St. Clair County, Jefferson County, Talladega County, and finally, what was that other county up there? Past Anniston, Oxford.
Does it start with
a who?
Does it start with a C?
Yeah. Cleburne County.
Okay.
So when I started in Shelby County, the judge refused to let any parents in the courtroom. The only way I was allowed in the courtroom was after I got rid of my attorneys. Well, I fired an attorney and then I hired an attorney, and that attorney that I hired, she died. So I ended up deciding to represent myself. When I started representing myself, that was the only time that I was allowed in the courtroom. But they ended up having 2 hearings when I had no attorney. I was representing myself, and they wouldn't allow me in the courtroom for those hearings. When Chris, when his case was up, they wouldn't allow anybody in the courtroom. The law states that we are allowed to be present for these hearings, but these courts are not even allowing the parents to be in there, so that we don't even have the ability to defend ourselves. With Chris, I ended up being allowed in the courtroom with his attorney because I work, when we work together with these cases, I am his clerk. So I was able to come in because I was part of the legal team. But Chris, as the parent, wasn't able to come in. So this is something that happened.
On that note, when we did the 72-hour hearing for my youngest, which actually happened 6 or 7 days after, not the legal 72 hours, there was someone I knew that had put themselves as the attorney on record for the 72-hour hearing. She was familiar with the situation, but not as familiar as another law partner that works in her firm. So they had filed her as the assistant. They wouldn't even let the assistant to the attorney in the courtroom.
Yeah. They don't want to do
But
any
the
of that.
assistant couldn't pull papers and stuff, and they wouldn't let me go pull the papers and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They won't let any of that happen. Anyway, before we end, I'm going to go ahead and touch on
before you guys do both go read the private chat, because that will give you some knowledge into what goes on up here. Because you are in fact allowed in the courtrooms up here the entire time the hearing is going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, Benny, the thing is, in Alabama, it depends on the county. Because when my case left Shelby County, I was allowed in the courtroom every time after that. They didn't stop.
So the judges, they're not supposed to be blocking you. That is by state laws and constitution rights. You are allowed in that goddamn courtroom.
Okay, let me update the rest of what this mama she just said. I asked her, have they ever been in the courtroom? She said yes. And then I asked her, like, are they having one of those attorney meetings without you guys, or are they holding court without you? And she said they are having court without us.
No, they can't do that.
And
well, they just did in Alabama.
Then it is not on the record, because they're doing everything back room, because they're not in that room for the hearing, which means they don't have to record because they are not there.
Yep. Actually, because the parent themselves is not there, the case cannot be recorded by anybody but the court, because they're having confidential discussions about somebody that's not present to give consent.
So, in other words, Amy, they need to do a FOIA.
They need to do a FOIA. You're right. But I don't think that, I know this parent and I know the judge that they're going before, that's not going to work. I can tell you something else that they need to do. One thing that I did with my case, well, yeah. One thing that I did with the court, when my case was in Shelby County, Alabama, I ended up asking the CPS attorney to produce her credentials, the right for her to be able to practice in the private sector. She did not have credentials to do that. See, what parents have to understand is there's a private sector.
Are there different credentials for that?
Yes.
I bet Brandon Jackson's bird-beaked butt doesn't have one either.
You can actually check on the Bar Association. You can actually check on the Bar Association, and it will tell you if they're licensed to practice in either the private sector or the public sector. And since CPS has stakeholders, that means that they are part of the public sector, but they actually have licensing to practice in the private sector. They're not allowed to practice in the public sector if they have licensing for the private sector only, or public sector only. So
Kim,
anyway,
make sure
we're getting on time.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all right to go a couple minutes over. Just when you go into the chat, our group chat, forward Amy the two things that I put in there: the under color of law form and the cease and desist, and then the motion to intervene.
Yep, I'll send it to her. So anyway, guys, so we're going to go ahead because I know that we've got another show that needs to be coming up after this, and I don't want to cut into too much of their time. So I'm going to just tell you a couple of little tips that I use personally when I get into a situation where I'm in my feels and I just don't feel like I want to go on without my kids. I have found for me that I use herbal supplements to help with my anxiety. This is one of the ones that is the best in the world. This you can get at Walmart. When I say herbal supplements, I mean herbal supplements. Do not
But
mean marijuana.
it's 2025. Have you heard of marijuana? I'm joking.
However, in some states,
It's illegal.
it is
I
legal to
know.
use marijuana. And some people find it very, very, very helpful. In Alabama, however, it is not legal to use marijuana, so that is not something we participate in. It's not something that we suggest even because of it being illegal. Amy's a jokester. But that's one of the things I use. Actually, this is when Chris killed himself, I was on the phone with him just moments before he pulled the trigger. I was the one that had to notify his parents. I'm the one that identified him to the coroner. I'm the one that called the police. I am the one who cleaned up what was left of Chris. It almost killed me. It honestly almost killed me. My therapist, he actually, well, I have a psychologist as well that oversees the therapist as part of the law, and I see him once a year. He actually was so worried about my state of mind after Chris killed himself that at one point he thought he may have to admit me to the psychiatric facility. Thankfully, because of this, and I'll show it to you again, I was able to pull myself out of this serious fucked up place that I was in. And what I do to keep from being able to go back into that place is I help others. Whether or not it is, I mean, whether it's helping you guys by doing the podcast, it's helping parents when they text me and say CPS is knocking at my door, whether it's helping people write their motions, or one of the other things that I do is do what?
I think you should put cats in your bathroom.
Yeah, no, I hate cats.
You're no fun.
Amy hates me for that, y'all. But one of the things that I do is in my apartment building, I have a lot of elderly folks who are on a very tight income, and they find it difficult to be able to afford to eat a real meal frequently. So I have begun preparing a meal once a week for them. It's soup season, so I've been doing soup for the past couple of weeks. And there's a warming center, so it's really, really, really cold right now. It's supposed to be snowing in the next couple of days. I mean, all the way in freaking Mobile is supposed to be snowing. That's crazy. And so I've been preparing a little extra and taking it to the warming center so the people at the warming center can also have some food, something, to help keep them warm. These are some of the things that helps me. I do this because for me, when I get to the point that I just say, I can't do this anymore, I just pray that I don't wake up tomorrow. It helps me when I have something scheduled to do for other people. So I do the soup thing usually every Tuesday. So if I get really, really, really down on the weekend, I just have to remember, if I take my life today, who's going to fix soup for the residents Tuesday? Who's going to take soup during my time slot down to the warming center on Tuesday? So find something that you can do that takes your mind off of the situation. Do not feel bad about living your life. Your children need you to be a sane, healthy person when they come home. Do not be ashamed of trying to make that happen. We always hear, if you're on an airplane and you're going down, put the mask on yourself before you put it on your children. The reason they tell us that is because you are no good to your children if you're dead. If you die trying to save your children, then both of you are going to die. It is a lot easier for you to try to save your kids if you are healthy, if you are somewhat happy. When your kids come home, they are going to need you to be sane, because the shit that they've been put through is going to have so much trauma that they're going to carry back with them. It's going to have left so many scars, and they are going to need you to be strong enough to be able to help them through that. So even though you feel guilty because you're moving on, or you're not moving on, you're just moving forward, you've got to remember that doing that is the happy home. Your kids are not going to want to be with you if you're a basket case, and you're not going to be able to help them if you're. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it for tonight. Amy, do you have any last words?
Random weather. Yes, but it doesn't have to do with CPS. It has to do with the weather. They are talking about possibly 3 straight days of below freezing temperatures for most of Alabama. So if you're in Alabama or, surrounding states that have similar weather pattern crossing together, make sure you're not cold.
Yeah, bundle up. We don't need parents freezing to death.
Firewood.
So, yes, lots of firewood. And make sure that if you use a space heater, please be careful with it in the winter. That is the biggest thing in the South is fires because of space heaters. So when you're trying to keep warm. So just be extra careful with that if you are in the South, whether it's Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, any of that area. Be extra careful with that.
They're predicting 0 degrees for Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
And 13 degrees with snow in Mobile and Dothan. So,
that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. All right, guys. Well, listen, remember, if CPS shows at your door, even if they're there with the cops, you do not have to answer the door. Tell them to come back with a warrant or a court order. Do not open the door. You do not legally have to open the door. And on that note, we're going to call it a night. Y'all have a good evening.
Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem.
They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division is what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation. Making us aware of the problem, stealing our kids. It's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost due to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. CPS comes along with the mission to protect. The only thing they are doing is cashing in those checks, paid for by the souls of the children. Diagnosed by a caseworker who is still a baby herself. They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they do. CPS, fuck CPS, ain't need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem, stealing our kids. It's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again.